In a world filled with sniveling snowflakes, where timeouts and safe places are abundant, where there's 37 genders to scroll through on a job application. Not that they have jobs. We're proud to be your salvation and your beacon to unabashed, in-your-face talk. This is Stars, Bars, and Cigars, the no-holds-barred conservative talk show hosted by battle-tested vets. Lock and load and get ready for an explosive journey through breaking news, the rich tapestry of constitutional history, and the pulse-pounding realities of Army and Navy life. Oh, and yeah, cigars. Stars, Bars, and Cigars. And now your hosts, Jimmy the Bull and Tig Tigger.
Hey, Patriots and Snowflakes. How the hell you doing, Tig?
Great, Bull. How are you doing in our no squatter zone?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Tig. I'm doing all right. Tonight, we are going to talk a little bit about what our founders and forefathers of the Constitution wrote about militias and how they affect everybody. And it's going to be a little educational, but first, Tig,
we're gonna give you some important quotes about
yes, sir.
from the founders. And so here's the thing: you're gonna want to forget everything these politicians and the media are telling you because they're a bunch of lying motherfuckers.
All right, so you heard it from the Tigmeister. What are you smoking?
Okay, I am smoking the Perdomo lots number 23. This baby here is a very, very highly rated cigar.
That is a very highly rated cigar. I believe it's like a 91 or a 92, if I'm not mistaken. I just had one like last week, and I was like, damn, this is a great cigar, man.
Well, it's a Nicaraguan.
Just an excellent smoke, man. I really enjoyed that one. I was actually going to save it for like one of our next upcoming shows, but I was like, I'm kind of jonesing for a really good one. But
we have a local radio disc jockey locally that likes Perdomos, from what I hear. So yeah, I mean they're good popular cigar. I mean anybody and everybody, if they're a cigar connoisseur, man, they don't say nothing bad about Perdomo. So
right arm.
Why not? So what do you got there, Bull?
I have a Henry Clay, and this is a real fitting name for a cigar for this program. It's called the War Hawk.
You bet your ass. You bet your ass.
I came across this. Actually, I was gonna get one about, I don't know, a couple months back and just smoke it on a program, but it just never, I kind of passed over it. And then then I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I picked it up, and then when you said you wanted to do this program tonight, I was like, the War Hawk just stood out. So it sounded like a really cool name for a really cool episode. Number 40.
Number 40 episode. Folks, you're going to want to watch this all the way through. And if you have to rewatch it, because we're going to get down to some brass tacks here. Folks, you have more power than you think you have, okay? This is what the founders meant, what they really meant, okay? And the difference between a militia and our current standing armies, our current military, our standing military, which belongs to the government and not the people. So you, the people, are the militia, and that's what we're going to talk about.
That's right. We're the oldest standing army. Actually, people really don't even realize it or even understand it, to be really honest. So
the first two battles of the Revolutionary War were not fought by George Washington's Continental Army, which was a standing army of that time. It was fought by people that were neighbors, your farmers, your carpenters, your everyday people. They organized and they got together, regulated a militia, and they went off and fought the British in the first two major battles of the Revolution. And it was only after those two battles that the standing army, the Continental Army of George Washington, got involved. But with that being said, we the people to this day have a right to regulate and form a militia. And we have a right to form a militia, and we have a Second Amendment right with that. And it's got nothing to do with hunting, folks. And we're going to go on and talk about this some more.
Right. And I was kind of just scanning through some of the notes that we had there, and to kick this off, I mean, the things that this particular government is going after are things that are outlined in this particular document. So it's yeah, I think it's this is going to be a really an eye opener for a lot of people.
For
So
everybody. Yeah.
yeah.
See, the government's been using for a very long time before we were even born, before I was even born. They have been using propaganda, lies, deception to make people think that they are the be all end all and that they know all. And they use fear and everything else to keep people down, to keep them slaves, to keep them totally brainwashed and dumbed down to believe that they really have no power. We, the people, have more power than the government. The politicians and those that actually have bought and paid for the politicians, they don't have a right to take away our rights because they never gave them to us. And they really are not our rulers. They are there to represent us. Represent us, meaning we are the boss. So it's time people step up. I'm not advocating violence against the government. I'm advocating people need to step up and say, look, we've had it. And if
Right.
we'll take it as far as you want to cross that line. You cross that line, there's got to be a line where finally, folks, we're going to get so fed up, we're going to say enough is enough. Okay? Because the Second Amendment was written to fight against tyranny. And right now, this government is the government our founders warned us against.
Yep. Just like a couple episodes ago.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read off paper. I wrote these notes, folks. I wrote this from what I actually read. I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of good stuff. I get stuff and I get it. I get receipts. I get quotes from the founders, what they wrote. They wrote a lot of stuff. The founders did a lot of stuff that people don't realize is out there to read besides the Constitution. They wrote stuff about their philosophical beliefs, how they believed that we, the people, should operate our republic, our constitutional republic. And if you notice, just about every politician, even Trump himself, they keep calling it a democracy. It's not a democracy. There's a big difference between a constitutional republic and a democracy. Okay. A constitutional republic gives you individual rights. A democracy is a majority that can say, oh, we can take your home. That just being an example. We are a constitutional republic, and people need to start saying it, and real America First candidates need to start saying it instead of this democracy crap, because the word democracy does not spell out what the founders meant us to be. Okay? So I'm going to carry on with this report here. I guess it's a report. I guess I took notes to get this message across, because everybody really needs to hear this message. Okay. My cigar will probably go out, but that's okay. Okay. One of the primary reasons the founders wanted a strong militia system with a well-armed general public was to minimize or even eliminate the need for a large, permanent, standing army, even in times of peace. Most people in the founding generation were extremely wary of standing armies. They were often referred to as, quote, the bane of liberty. They knew this from experience, from the standing armies that led to the massacre in Boston, to the gun control scheme that kicked off the war for independence. They lived it firsthand. See, folks, they're trying to eliminate our history, and I'm giving you the real history. As colonial resistance to taxes and other policies grew in 1774, the British responded by attempting to disarm the colonists. Noah Webster, here's a name for you folks, look him up. Noah Webster understood this danger well by saying, quote, before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed. Okay, that was his take on that. And see, that's what they're trying to do today. They're trying to disarm us because they want to keep themselves in power along with our military. Well, it's not our military, folks. Actually, it's not. It's the government's military. So, I mean, I know a lot of you served out there. I served and stuff. But, you know, the fact of the matter is the only military that represents the people is the people themselves, the Second Amendment. George Mason also minced no words. Quote, I abominate and detest the idea of a government where there is a standing army. St. George Tucker warned what would happen if there was a standing army and the people were disarmed. Quote, this may be considered true palladium. I can't read very well. I can't say shit very well. Sorry about that, folks. Palladium of liberty. Meaning basically it interferes with liberty. The right of self-defense is the first law of nature. In most governments, it has been the study of rulers to confine this right within the narrowest limits possible. That's our Second Amendment. Whenever standing armies are kept up and the right of the people to keep and bear arms is, under color or pretext whatsoever prohibited, liberty, if not already annihilated, is on the brink of destruction. This is why so many in the founding generation favored a strong militia system. And that quote from St. George Tucker was pretty powerful, actually. You know, so like I said, you know, if you want to re-listen to this program, re-listen to it carefully, because I'm just reading off of this stuff, and you know, you might have to reread it, re-listen to it again, but it's pretty out there, and it's, you know, they mince no words about how they felt about standing armies versus the militia. So one of my favorites, Patrick Henry, summed it up during the Virginia Ratifying Convention. Quote, the militia, sir, is our ultimate safety. We have no security without it. Why did the founders trust a militia and not a standing army? Because as George Mason said, the militia consists of, quote, the whole people except a few public officers. In other words, the people ultimately maintain control over the militia. In fact, they are the militia. But the government controls a standing army. It effectively serves as an extension of the government. So look, folks, you can't trust today's government. So take it for what it's worth. They'll use the military against us. Not that every member of the military is going to side with government, because a lot of them will side with us. But I'm just going off on what I'm reading here, because folks, really, the founding fathers really, they were not in favor of a regular government style military. In fact, they wanted such a small government that the people still ruled, and that the people actually were the ones to defend the country in case the time came for them to defend the country, which also would tell you that the Second Amendment and that we, the people, the militia, have every right to own every single firearm we want or can have. So that debunks what Joe Biden said about, well, back in the day of the Second Amendment, people couldn't own cannons. They most certainly could, Joe. In fact, legally, under the Second Amendment, and according to founding fathers, we, the people, should be allowed to have fully automatic machine guns and hand grenades and RPGs and tanks and everything else. We're allowed to have everything the government has because we, the people, are the government. We, the people, actually are the boss.
Right, but what it falls back to though is the three-letter agency, the A fucking TF.
Yeah, well, you know what? Fuck the ATF. I keep saying people need to stand up against these little government agencies. We have more than they do. All right. You see the ATF bullying somebody out there. You know what? Gather up your arms and go defend the person. Go defend them against the ATF. Because you know what? The ATF doesn't necessarily go after criminals. They try to criminalize a
Yeah,
person.
good
They
people.
try to
Yeah,
they try to criminalize good people because their goal is to take away your firearms. Their goal is to regulate. Their goal is to take away freedoms. That's why they're called the firearms. That's why they're alcohol and tobacco and firearms. Those are freedoms that we have. Alcohol
right.
and tobacco and firearms. And they try to regulate that. And they try to, they bully the alcohol, the ones that actually sell alcohol for a living and tobacco for a living. They like to bully them, and regulate them. And they want to bully the firearms owners. They want to, they actually, I bought one of those pistol braces for a carbine I have, right? And it said right on it that it was ATF approved. Okay, so it's ATF approved. Why is the ATF then trying to take away the pistol fucking braces, man?
Right.
And hypocrites, they're nothing but a bunch of bullies and power hungry arm of the government. And you know what? They don't have that right. They don't have the right to regulate. They don't have the right to legislate. They don't have the right to take anything from us. They're nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, they were formed by a radical, tyrannical government, and it's time we shut their ass down. Because we have the right to own, according to the founders and the Second Amendment, we have the right to own anything we want because we are the militia, folks. So I'm going to move right along. And I'm going to talk about Henry Knox for a minute. Another guy you can look up. Henry Knox served as the first Secretary of War in the United States. And he recognized this distinction in a letter to George Washington sharing his plan for organizing the militia dated January 18th of 1790. He emphasized that the militia should provide the primary defense and a standing army was distinct from the people at large. Yeah, my cigar went out. I'll light up later. Quote from Henry Knox: an energetic national militia is to be regarded as the capital security of a free republic and not a standing army, forming a distinct class in the community. He went on to say that, quote, whatever may be the efficacy of a standing army in war, it cannot in peace be considered as friendly to the rights of human nature. Those are pretty bold statements coming from, a founder, one of the first secretaries.
Right.
Those guys were truly representing the people. That was our government back then. Our founding fathers and our founding government actually represented the people and their rights, especially. So, moving along, during the Philadelphia Convention, James Madison, one of my favorites, him and Samuel and John Adams, James Madison also argued that a good militia would minimize or even prevent the need for standing armies. Quote, as the greatest danger to liberty is from large standing armies, it is best to prevent them by an effectual provision for a good militia. This drives home the point that the reason for having a well-armed populace isn't just for shooting deer or for personal defense or even for defending against foreign enemies. The founding generation believed it was necessary to reduce the need for a standing army. When Thomas Jefferson first read a copy of the proposed Constitution, he urged James Madison to provide for the, quote, substitution of militia for a standing army. So in the Second Amendment, they put, instead of standing army, they put militia, a well-regulated militia, as you read in the Second Amendment. And that well-regulated militia meant us, not the military. It meant us. So all you liberals out there that kind of try to argue that, you don't know your Constitution. You listen to government, which is your first mistake, okay, because they twist it around. Okay, so next time you read that Second Amendment after watching this program, you keep in mind the militia is not a standing army. It is not the military. The militia is you and me, your neighbors, your friends, your family. It is we, the people, period.
Yeah, I was reading just a little bit about that, and they were saying that the current number of gun owners is over 100 million. So that is we the people.
With that being said, I'm going to go on to a forum, folks. I belong to this forum. It's a Q&A. It's a questions and answers about the military, about all facets of the military. People bring in questions and stuff about military, government, everything else. And usually it's veterans, very experienced veterans, mostly special ops guys like SEALs, Green Berets, and such, that answer these questions for people. As dumb as some of them seem, because some of them do seem dumb, but I'm pretty sure that there's some young generation kids thinking about going in the military that ask these questions. And, you can't blame them for asking what seems like a stupid question, especially if you've been in the military. But, here's a question, and I'm going to read this off my phone, folks, because I had to save it on my phone. I didn't want to write it out because, I got sick of writing stuff. Okay. But here's the thing. This guy wrote in. It could be a kid. It could be a guy. I don't know. His question was, and I'm not going to repeat any names off this because, I don't have permission to spout off the names, the guy that asked the question, nor who answered it. But I'm going to read this. The question was, if every U.S. gun-owning civilian started rebelling against the government for some reason, how hard would it be for the U.S. military to stop them? And the guy who answered this question, and he's high up, but I'm not going to mention what he is, but he said you should have asked this. If every U.S. gun-owning civilians started rebelling against the government for some reason, how long would the government last? That's a pretty bold statement to, reiterate his question or whatever. So he's like, why would I say this? After all, doesn't just about every defense study from the post-war era rank the U.S. military as one of the most powerful armed forces in the world? The answer to this question, you see, is really simple. And this is his opinion, of course, but he has experience to make this opinion. And we can all discuss this later, I guess. Bull and I can discuss it if we got time, which I think we will have time. So he goes on to say, there are 100 million gun owners and at most 3 million members of the military and police. They're well outnumbered. Even if we round up the numbers of police and military to 5 million, it would still be quite a stretch to see them fighting a well-armed group that is nearly 20 times as large as they are. This is despite ignoring several facts that don't look good for the military. Supply chains largely dependent on civilians. So military gets their supply chains from civilians. If the reason for civil war is gun confiscation, it's highly unlikely that the military, being mainly conservative, will support war against its own citizens. especially since these military have family members and stuff that are,
Right.
gun owners.
But like when we discussed, just a little digression here, when we discussed in a previous, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 6 episodes ago, about the illegal invaders coming over, and these congressmen wanting to replace army members with these illegal invaders.
That's why we have a militia.
Yeah, they have no skin in the game, so they have no ties to any American. They don't have a problem with pulling a trigger on Americans.
And you have the right to shoot and kill any illegal foreigner in a United States military uniform that poses a threat to you. Remember the constitutional oath that many, many veterans took, okay,
Yep.
to defend the Constitution and that against enemies, all foreign and domestic.
Right.
So the guy goes on and says, continuous failures throughout history to successfully defeat insurgencies. Let's look at 3 examples to prove my point. Vietnam. The U.S. entered a poor, devastated, war-torn nation. Should have been an easy fight, right? Wrong. After all those years, they had to pack up and leave, and we all know the result. Iraq 2.0. They should have taken this one easily. Flat terrain, overwhelming firepower, willing politicians, and poorly trained and led opponents. Yet after 20 years, there had been no result. Okay, what is Iraq today? Did we win anything? Did we hand over a good government to Iraq? Nah, they still have terrorists over there running the show, Sharia law and all that stuff. Afghanistan. Well, we know how Afghanistan ended too, folks. Afghanistan, same as the last 2, a nation of illiterate goat herders pushed back the world's strongest fighting force. This was, of course, only a short while after they kicked out the Soviets. Remember the Soviet Union and their mass machine military in the 80s and how the Afghans just kind of handed them their ass? Okay. None of these 3 examples looks good for the U.S. However, it gets worse. American gun owners are better equipped, educated, and funded than any of Afghanistan, Vietnam, or Iraq ever were. Not only are American gun owners well equipped, but they are well led too. With 18.2 million veterans, many of whom are likely experienced with asymmetric warfare from Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam, they understand the doctrines and policies set in place to combat an insurgency. And that insurgency could even be foreign troops, the illegals that they put out there to fight us. And so they know how to work around said doctrines, these vets. Ignoring all these drawbacks that the military faces and negating any pragmatic and moral argument and simplifying this motion down to a question of numbers, the military still does not win under any circumstances. And then he went on to say, sorry. So, I mean, he does have some points there. My only concern would be how many of these veterans would the government approach and say, hey, look, we'll give you a great, great paycheck and a great, great retirement if you join up with these contractors, these government contractors, where they have really no rule to war whatsoever, and they are above the law, and they can just shoot and kill anybody they want, basically. Right. And many people know about these contractors and how they acted over there in Afghanistan, Iraq, and how they act in general. They're basically hired mercenaries. So that would be a concern, but we still have some really good Navy SEAL veterans out there and good Green Berets out there, good infantry grunts out there that are veterans that would say, fuck no, we don't want nothing to do with that contractor shit, because they were offered the job a while back anyway, and they didn't take it. So we have some good people here in the United States that say, fuck no. And those contractors would still be outmanned as well. You have half the military that would leave, the good military. So that would be left to yes men. And right now, I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry to all you young folks in the military, but I've researched your basic training, your boot camp, and your combat training. You may have the high tech equipment and stuff. You're not as tough. You're not as tough as the old veterans, not as tough as veterans of old, and nor do you have the maturity and the discipline to fight an all-out war against disciplined, aging veterans, let alone
just because we're not in
gangs.
we forgot.
And then you got to deal with the gangs, the street gangs that got automatic weapons. That's not, when they count the 100 million gun owners in America, they're not counting the ones that have that actually have them because they bought them off the black market in the streets, these gangs and everything else. So yeah, you try to come and get all the guns once, see what happens, see how far you get with that. I don't think it's going to end well for anybody, really. And the government wouldn't last, because what are they going to have? They're not going to have people to rule over. They're going to have a lot of destruction, a lot of ruins. And, politicians are going to have to go down in their little freaking penthouses or little holes that they made, their little 5 mile long, whatever the hell, tunnels, penthouses that they have.
Rats. Yeah.
And what's it going to matter? When you do resurface, you're not going to have nothing to resurface to. Really, you'll have nothing left. But, so, when they create this fear, when the politicians, they use this crap and these talk shows, even the conservative talk shows, even, all the media, they try to bring out this crap. Oh, well, the American people couldn't win and blah, blah, blah. Whose side are they on? Well, they're not on our side. And, it's ridiculous. Okay. My and Mad Maxine Waters came out and was talking about, and you could tell she was afraid. She came out and said, these people that are training in the hills and stuff. And you had one congressman, a Democrat, who tried to bring up a bill saying that people of 3 or more couldn't form any kind of paramilitary training. Well, guess what? That's unconstitutional. That bill won't fly. And even if it does fly, we don't have to comply with it. Because guess what? We are the militia, folks. We are the militia. We have that much power. We have the right to own anything we want. Don't let them come and say, oh, well, you're under arrest because you have an illegal firearm. You give them the middle finger and say, you know what? You are unconstitutionally not able to arrest me. Your laws are unconstitutional. We, the people, are the boss. And no, you ain't going to be arresting me today. And yeah, I will resist arrest. And you can beat the shit out of me and all that. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell my lawyer, hey, guess what? Guess what? I hate to tell you this. Maybe they didn't teach you the Constitution in law school either. But we, the people, are the militia. We, the people, have the right to firearms. And we, the people, have a right not to be arrested illegally and unlawfully by an abusive, tyrannical government.
Right.
So guess what? I'm going to resist arrest. You better have a damn good reason to arrest me, and it better be that I committed an actual crime, and that crime better not have anything to do with firearms, because then it's unconstitutional and it's illegal arrest. Stand up, people. Look at your Constitution, look at your Second Amendment, read the founders, what they said about the militia and about the Second Amendment and about the people. Folks, if you read that stuff, if you research that stuff, you will find you have more power than you ever thought you did. And you got to stop listening to politicians and the media and these idiots up there that just want to hold on to power, and they want to use fear, and they want to use their law enforcement to overpower you.
Right. And, like we always come back to the same old thing, they're big and bad when they're going against just one person.
Oh, yeah. And it usually takes about 12 to 20 to raid a home of one person.
Right.
You're tough. You're tough. All right.
Right.
Like I said, okay, send over 1 or 2 officers send over 1 or 2 of them with firearms to match one guy with a firearm. See how well you fare.
Right.
You gutless cowards is what you are. I'd tell all the law enforcement out there too, you know what? You need to start doing your oath too. You need to start defending our constitutional rights. And when they tell you to confiscate a firearm from someone, you should say, no, I'm not violating. I don't care if it's my job or not. My job is also to defend the Constitution, and I'm not violating this person's constitutional Second Amendment rights. And this person actually pays my salary. Okay. So Big middle finger to you,
Absolutely.
And this government, I'm sorry, but this is the government our founders warned you against, folks. This government is very tyrannical. They are very corrupt. And you know what? It's high time we, the people, stood up and said, you're done. You're done as a government. I don't care. It's both Democrats and Republicans. It's the uni party. You're done. It's time. It's, we're going to get rid of you one way or the other. Okay.
Right.
Well, we'll try the voting thing, but you know what? Don't be cheating anymore, because we'll know this time that you're cheating. We already
Yeah,
know that you
and
cheated
it's
last
not gonna
time.
fly this time again, you know?
No.
We're gonna keep, alliterating that it's not gonna fly this time. So, you can cheat if you want, but, in the end, we will find out, and we will this time make you an unfit, you won't be the president.
You
The
know,
people will not put up with it this time.
it's time we take a page out of 1776 and the people start organizing and uniting. This isn't about division, folks, anymore. Okay, like we said in the one program when we brought Trey on, okay, they have done a good job of dividing black and white, throwing out this racism crap for how long? You know what? It's not about that. It's about character. And they're going after black people. They're going after white people. The system, the corrupt government is going after all of us, we the people. So it's high time. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown. It's high time that we the people, we the citizens, we the legal citizens start uniting in this country, because we're going to need each other. And that's what the government's afraid of. That's why they keep us divided amongst everything, you know?
Right.
They even try to divide us among straight people and LPGD, whatever the hell it is, the gay community, okay? The gay trans community. Well, you know what? I know a couple gay soldiers. They were grunts. They were infantry. They're pretty rugged. And I'll tell you what, like I said to one guy who asked me the question, he said, okay, so you're a straight man. What would happen if you had to spend days in a trench or a foxhole with a gay guy? I said, you know what? Is he a gay soldier? Is he a good soldier? If he is, I expect him to do his job. He covers my ass, I cover his ass.
Right.
And I'm not talking about sexual cover right now, okay, folks? All right. I would be glad. I have talked to gay soldiers and I said, you know what? You had the same job I once had. I consider you my brother. Okay. That's much deeper than just a friend. That's a brother. Yeah, I got your six. All right. It has nothing to do with our differences at this point. It has to do with recognizing who our side is versus who the other side is.
Right.
And I don't care what color you are either. All right. It's we've got a tyrannical government that's trying to take down the United States. They're trying to take down us. They're trying to take away all the time, trying to take away our Second Amendment rights. You know, that stupid jackwagon, well, she ain't a vice president legally, but Kamala Harris, she came out recently and she said, well, I'm all for the Second Amendment, but we still need to have red flag laws, and we still need to have better background checks, and we still need to have an assault rifle ban. Hey, bitch, you're not for the Second Amendment then, you dumb fucking cunt. I know this is going to offend some women that I said dumb fucking cunt, but guess what? Go over to the UK. They call each other bloody cunt all the time. It's a way of life. It's a way of
The
speaking.
real women know that it's not an offense towards them. So,
Yeah. All right. Kamala Harris is a cunt. Okay. She's
yeah, she
a
is.
she's a cock sucking cunt. All right. And that's how she got there. That's how she made it to the top. She blew her way to the top, folks, because she's as dumb as a box of rocks. And she knows nothing about the Constitution. And you know what? If someone says, oh, she's a lawyer one more time, I'll say, you know what? I have a law student that told me they don't even teach the Constitution to law students anymore. You can become a lawyer and not know a goddamn thing, pardon my French, about the Constitution. That's why half your politicians in DC, they don't know nothing about the politician. And every time they try to use or they don't know nothing about the Constitution, every time they try to use the Constitution, they look so stupid. They look stupid compared to us people that actually know the Constitution. All right. You can't tell me you believe in the Second Amendment if you believe in any gun law, whether it be registration, whether it be getting rid of high capacity magazines, getting rid of the quote unquote assault rifles, or red flag laws, which are very dangerous to both the people and the police departments. Okay, that's not being for the Second Amendment. All right. So you know what? It's time that we educate ourselves about the Second Amendment, about the militia, about the Constitution, and we wake up and we try to wake up some of these people that are uneducated and say, guess what? People are lying to you. The government, the media, the corporations, they're all lying to you. Okay, folks, you have more power than you believe. You are the militia. You have every right to any firearm you want under the Second Amendment because you are the militia. So,
Right.
you know, let's get with it, folks. Let's take a stand. Let's say, you know what? You ain't going to do this to us anymore, government. We're not going to listen to you. We're not going to listen to you. You know why? Because you need to listen to us. All right. We're the boss. We're the ones that elect you, supposedly. And if you're cheating, if you're cheating in the election, then you all need to go to prison for fraud. Okay.
Yep.
So guess what? I guess half of DC is going to be they belong in prison. Well, and then some of them that have committed even harsher crimes, they deserve capital punishment. And it's time
Yep.
you people stood up and say, you know what? We're not going to listen to you anymore. We're not going to take your shit anymore. We're not going to have you pissing down our backs and telling us it's raining. Fuck you, DC. Fuck
Right.
you.
Leave us the
We're
fuck
sick of your
alone.
shit. We're sick of your shit. You're not going to tell us what to do. You're not going to tell us what rights you can take away from us because you never gave it to us in the first place. Do you want us to start fighting for our rights again? Do you want 1776 all over again? Because some of us really don't give a rat's ass. Because some of us would just rather have our freedoms because we're not going to lay down for you, the government.
Exactly. So, Tig, gonna digress a little here. How's that smoke going for
It's
you there?
very, very outstanding smoke. It is,
Yeah,
is
it is.
quality rich, you
Yep.
know. Perdomo, guys. Perdomo, if you want a really good cigar, and if you're not much of a
Yep.
cigar connoisseur and you want to start smoking cigars again and you can afford a good quality cigar habit, you know, they're expensive, folks. But if you really don't know what you want in a cigar, and you want a quality cigar, you know, you can't go wrong with Perdomo or anything by
Right.
Drew Estate almost. So,
Yeah.
but Perdomo.
Yeah.
In fact,
And I'll tell you what, this Henry Clay just excellent cigar. Also, if you see this one, Tig, grab it. You won't be disappointed.
I'm still waiting for the Don Kiki.
Ah, I'm gonna get some more of those.
You know what?
Might have to order a box. They were that good.
I should look up and see how much a box is. I wonder about that. I wonder how much. I bet they're expensive, man. I bet you're going to pay a few $100.
They're all expensive.
Yeah, they are. Well, shit, those Davidoffs, like I talked to you about, those Davidoffs, man. You want that Winston Churchill that I wanted? You want to buy a box of them? It's like $500 for a box.
Yeah. Yeah.
$500 to lay down for 20 cigars.
Right.
Yeah.
Cha-ching.
Yeah. I think I'm in the wrong business.
Right. So, Tig, let's keep the ball rolling here. Do you want to talk a little trending news here? You got anything cooking?
I really don't have a whole lot of trending news except the fact that, you know, that recent Kamala Harris statement. And well, they said this on the news too, but I think we're all well aware, especially the gun owners and the conservatives and the patriots. We're well aware that this has been going on, but they just recently decided that they would make a statement in it. The FBI and intelligence agencies say they are going to closely surveil those they deem far right radicals and put them in the category as extremists or a terrorist threat. So they're going after the conservatives, the patriots, the MAGA people now. They're going to watch us closely. See,
I'll
you
tell
know
you what,
why?
man. I think
Because they're tyrants and they're afraid that we are becoming empowered again.
you know,
They're the
speaking
red
of
coat.
afraid, excuse me. Speaking of being afraid, Trump just had a rally in what, New Jersey? Isn't that like in New York? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's outside of New York.
80,000 plus people showed up for
Mhm.
this. What do you think about that in a fucking blue state? I think it's
He
gonna
thinks
turn.
he thinks he can take New Jersey this time around. I mean, New
I think it's
Jersey's
gonna
where I
turn.
think George Santos originally won his election before they
I think
ousted
you're
him.
right. I
So,
think you're right.
New Jersey's kinda getting tired of the bullshit, all right? You can only push those people in New Jersey for so much. They start to wake up in a hurry and they start to push back. They
They
grew up
they
fighting.
they
They're
said it was
they're
the
not
largest, political rally in modern American history.
which tells you something about New Jersey if they get out and vote.
Yeah.
All right, they've had it. They've had it. They're sick of
Well,
the shit. They're starting to recognize this crap.
yeah, well, they're seeing that, the fucking Democrats are, weaponizing the judicial system against, the political opponents. So, that's got a lot to be said.
Well, and the people of New Jersey and New York, I'm pretty sure they want to have their Second Amendment rights. They want to be able to open carry, conceal carry. They want to be able to carry whatever firearm they want to carry for their protection because they live in dangerous territories. Look, folks, in New Jersey and in New York, if you want your rights, if you want your freedom, nothing spells freedom better than the ability to carry any firearm you want to carry for your protection. And if you want that ability, if you want that Second Amendment right, you already have it. It's just the tyrants that call themselves Democrats have been taking it from you for how many years? So it's high time you start electing a president who's going to defend your Second Amendment rights, a governor who's going to defend the Second Amendment rights, and a legislation in your state who's going to
Right.
defend the Second Amendment rights.
So
It's time.
this goes back to maybe a podcast or two before where we were talking about things that need to be done, if Trump gets in there, and that is, eliminating a lot of seats in the Congress and Senate, just so we can gain control of this again and keep corporate America out. I think that's going to be the key to longevity of our country.
Well,
If we don't do it,
you,
I think we're fucked.
you can start eliminating those seats by indicting half of them for
Absolutely.
crimes.
Well, yeah, and committing, and they've committed crimes, so they are guilty of all this
Yeah.
shit. So
Well,
they should pay for their fucking crimes and go to jail or fucking, be executed. One of the two.
just
I believe in capital punishment for this shit.
just one single vote for a bill that violates your constitutional rights is a means to ousting and arresting
Right.
them because they violated the oath they took. They're violating, your constitutional rights. That alone is worthy of jail time at the very least.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, I think I will stand behind my statement. 99.999% of them need to be ousted and they need to be indicted and they need to be going to court and they need to be charged accordingly to the crimes they have committed against the people of the United States of America, including every time they voted for an unconstitutional bill.
Yeah. Well, that'd be every single one of them. So
Bye. Bye, you motherfucking tyrants. We don't need you. The people
right.
are supposed to run the show anyway. All right. The whole point of government was supposed to be self-governance. The founding fathers believed in self-governance. Okay. It was supposed to be a very small government, very small Congress, and all those people their jobs was to represent and do what the people tell them to do.
Right.
And a lot of it included, most of it had to do with budgeting anyway. It had nothing to do with all these other tyrannical and unconstitutional bills and trying to create laws to take away your rights. That's unheard of. These guys are the
Right.
redcoats, man. It's time to get rid of them,
And
all of them.
and another thing, Tig, I reached out to two congressmen and did not even get a fucking reply back.
Mhm.
So that ought to say a little bit to you, that they don't give a fuck what we have to say. They don't
They don't
even
do
give a
their
fuck.
job.
They don't want to they don't want to deal with just an average Joe on a podcast. They don't want to do it. That's why I don't give a fuck if they come on our program or not. I don't fucking care.
It's time. It's time to take off the gloves and fight, folks.
That's what they think about you. So fucking
And you know
understand that.
you know what the problem is? You still have these longtime Democrats, these longtime Republicans, and they'll vote for Republican no matter who it is, even though that Republican is no better than the Democrat. They'll vote for the Democrats no matter who the Democrat is, even though the Democrat is clearly a commie or clearly a fascist or clearly just a tyrant. Okay, because they're so brain dead. You become so brainwashed that you've become brain dead, people. Can't you see the uni party? Can't you see two corrupt wings on the same bird? They suck. I will not vote for Republican when I know they're a piece of shit. Okay, I
Right.
will not vote for any Democrat because they're all pieces of shit.
Fucking
Okay,
A.
wake up, folks. I would rather just leave that little slot blank than vote for an idiot Republican that I know is just as bad as the Democrat that they're going up against, because that's how they play each other. It's like professional wrestling, folks. They pretend to hate each other, and then behind the scenes, they have a whole nice little fraternity where they get along
Yeah.
just fine,
Oh yeah.
and they're getting paid by the same people.
I don't really think they get along with MTG too well, though.
Well, they hate her because she's
Yeah.
telling it like it is.
Right.
She announced when they booed her, when she tried to get rid of Johnson, they booed her. She said, "Look, America, this is your uni party."
Right. And
Okay,
the other
both
thing that
sides.
was really, really shitty, Tig, is after they fucking voted for that fucking piece of shit bill with fuckhead Johnson there to give more support to Ukraine. They're all waving their fucking Ukraine flags like a bunch of fucking stupid fucking commie fucking pieces of shit traitor motherfuckers. They should have all right there. We should have gotten every single one of their fucking names, and anyone holding that flag needs to fucking go up for charges against treason against America,
Oh yeah. Well, most of them,
along with fucking the president.
most of them are guilty of treason. They're
Fucking
guilty.
piece of shit.
And you know what? It's time, folks. Here's the problem. When you're afraid of the government, that's called tyranny. When the government is afraid of you, that's called freedom. That's called a constitutional republic.
Or they'll label you as
People,
a terrorist, one of the two.
well, they're going to label us a terrorist anyway. But you know
Yeah.
what, people? The good guys are the people. The good guys are the patriots. The bad guys are in DC. All right. It's high time people stood up, and it's high time you took back your country, folks. And it's high
Yep.
time you recognize that you are the boss, you are the militia, and they're supposed to represent you, and they don't. And they don't care about you, and they laugh behind your backs. They go to 5-star restaurants on your dime while you can barely afford groceries. It's
Yep.
time to fight back, folks. It's time
Fuck
to
these
fight
fuckers.
back. You don't have to do it violently, but you still have to fight back one way or another. All right.
Right.
Go to some of these political rallies where these idiot congressmen are standing up there and they're trying to feed you the bullshit line to get reelected. Stand up and say, "You motherfucker, you fucking liar. You are a liar, you are a tyrant, and you're a piece of shit, and we're not going to take your crap anymore."
Right.
Be afraid. Be really afraid if you're a politician, because we're tired of your bullshit, and we're
We're
going to
coming
get
for
rid of
you.
you.
Nope. We're gonna
We're
get
going to
rid of
get
you
rid of you. We the
one way or
people.
another.
We the people.
All right, Tig, we're rounding out the hour, pal. You wanna close her down, or are we good?
I don't think I have any more than I've already done here. Do you have anything more?
No, I'm good. I'm good. You were full of piss and vinegar, so I let you roll.
Folks, heed the message.
Fuck
Heed
yeah.
the message. You think I'm doing this for my health? Hell, I could be visited by the feds any day now for the shit I say. All right.
Yeah.
I put my ass out on the line by doing this show. Okay. Now I wouldn't do that for, for any reason but to try to help, to try to wake you up, to try to empower for you people to get that message out. I mean, I had the receipts. I gave it to you straightforward, and I quoted from the founders even. Okay, folks, what's it going to take? What is it going to take to wake you up? What's it going to take to get you united? What's it going to take for you to fight back? Because one day you're going to have nothing. You'll be on your knees. You'll have no rights.
Especially if they cheat this next election. We're
and it's part of their agenda, folks.
Yep.
Start now.
All right. So there you have it, people, for educational purposes and entertainment value. Follow us on Rumble, where you can see our lovely faces. The Bull and the Tigmeister.
The Tigmeister, huh?
Yeah, the Tigmeister.
Sounds like a beer.
Yeah, a good one too. Also follow us on Podbean, Spotify, iHeart, Podchaser. There's a few others in there too. Alexa, just hey Alexa, play the latest podcast from Stars, Bars, and Cigars, and she'll start playing. Yep.
The Tigmeister is not a light beer. I'm more filling, folks. Huh?
Is that an amber or what kind is it?
The Tigmeister is a full-bodied beer.
All right, there it
not
is.
Not your light beer, not your weak light beer. We're full-body beer. We give it to you.
No watered down stuff here.
No, we don't water down shit. We give it to you straight full.
No fucking Bud Light shit.
And I would hope that you leave this show full and full and full. Not full of shit, but full and full complete.
Of vinegar.
Yeah.
And Tigmeister beer. All right. So with that, we're the fuck out of here. Adios, amigos and amigues.
You've been listening to Stars, Bars, and Cigars. Two conservative vets telling it like it is. The rally cry for those who appreciate bold truths served with a side of mayhem.
Roger, outside, disciple 4, copy all. We'll keep you sweating until we see Butcher 3. Out.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And if you didn't, well, why are you still here, Snowflake? We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, follow us on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and hear our precious voices on all the streaming services. Until next time, keep the spirit of freedom roaring.